Yes, sir. Nah, today we gonna talk about Sauce Walker, right? It's some interesting things that's been going on, right? Now, lately in hip hop news, uh, right after the day after Gunna gets released for taking a plea deal for the RICO charges, a day after that, a day after the 14th, 14 alleged members of Sauce Walker's The Sauce Factory were arrested in Houston on drug and firearm charges, right? AKA the RICO. So let's dive in on it. Let's see if this is also by the numbers. Now, all of those taken into custody were reportedly Houston residents, and it lists each of the 14 members. Now, if you dive on any of the on all of these names, you will notice that it includes some individuals except for Sauce Walker, whose real name is Albert Walker Mindane. So he is actually not listed as one of the 14 members that were arrested. So it was just the people that he was intertwined with, but not him himself, right? But let's dive a little deeper on that. Now we know everything that happens in hip hop in the industry is by the numbers. So let's dive deep on that. Albert, or I say Albert Walker Mondane, right? Now, if we take his latest release, which was Sauce Beach, Florida, which was released on August 26, 2022. Now, if we take that to the day that his members, right, from the Sauce Factory, this is his label slash group, you know, the same way they did YSL, the label slash quote unquote alleged gang. Same way they doing them folks, same way they doing these folks. 3 months and 19 days after this project was released, just like Albert Walker Mondane, Sauce Walker's full name in the English language in reverse. Right? So I'm led to believe that this is a ritual that his gang that he's putting his gang through. Notice that he is not included in the people that were arrested. So this is not giving the vibe. This is not giving the same YSL vibe that everybody's gonna take pleas and get out. Nah, niggas getting locked up out this hoe. Niggas getting locked up. He giving his niggas up. That's the vibe that this is giving me. That Sauce Walker, instead of sacrificing niggas and and getting niggas killed, yeah, he offering niggas up. Yeah, no, they not getting out. But come on, right? Now, this happens to happen, right? If we take Sauce Walker's date of birth, June 29th, 1990, the day he was born, to the day that the Sauce Factory members get arrested for RICO charges, he is currently 389 months old. Now, that's a special number because it happens to be a prime number. 389 is a number that can only go into itself and the number one. Try to divide it with any number and you can't do it. Now, 389 is the 77th prime number. Just like, right, the firearm charges. Don't worry, we're going to put this whole thing together. But first, we're going to separate it since they separated it in the headlines, right, with the comma. So we're going to take the firearm charges, which equals 77. This is what they happen to get, right, on the 77th prime of his age, right? But more importantly, his name, once again, Albert Walker Mindane, equals 77 in the full reduction cipher as they were arrested in Houston. Also, that is where he's from, which also equals 77. Peep the synchronicity between Albert Walker Mindane and Houston. This is where he's from and where these people got arrested at. And we have the synchronicity of 77 and 112. Once again, we're using the English language. If you don't understand what this is, if you don't understand what you're looking at, this is the practice of gematria, turning letters into their numerical value. And this is exactly what's going on. These rituals that you see in the mainstream media, all of these things are being coded by the numbers. So let's dive deeper on these numbers. Right. So we have the 77 connection, right? With him being 389 months old, which is the 77th prime. Right. The firearm charges that his label gets hit with, right? 77, and also with his name, 77, and they got arrested in Houston with 77. But now let's look at that 112. Let's look at that 112 now, right? Because this arrest comes on the 112th day of his most recent mixtape release, right? Sauce Beach, Florida, once again. Right? And why is that important? Because it comes from that same label, the Sauce Factory. And it's also linked to the day that the Sauce Factory members get arrested. It's on the 112th day of the most recent The Sauce Factory release. Right? Once again, with Houston equaling 112 and Albert Walker Mundane equaling 112. Right? Once again, those firearm charges that was in that title. Everything that's in the title is for a reason. Right? The mainstream media, they word certain things for a reason. Now, firearm charges equals 131 in English ordinal, right? F being the 6th letter of the alphabet, I being the 9th letter of the alphabet, so on and so forth. This is how this stuff is being calculated, simply by taking the English language forwards and backwards, right? Now, 131 happens to be the 32nd prime number, just like how at the time that these people get arrested, Sauce Walka is currently 32 years old, right? And they also get arrested in Houston, where Houston equals 32 in the reverse full reduction. Now, pay attention to these pictures that he's taken, because I know a lot of people are going to say, but he's independent. He's independent. I'm going to debunk that in a second, that independent isn't really independent, right? Because these artists do the same thing. They take the same pictures, the same poses. They still serve the same. They still serve the same principality at the end of the day. A label is just the middleman. That's just the middleman. But the plug, they still getting their drugs from the same plug. And when they get their drugs, they sell it to you. Right? The fiend. They're still hooked on to the music industry. But come on. Right? Now, breaking down the day once again that these people were arrested. Right? It was on the 15th of December. Now, if we actually break that down, right, in its complicity, December 15th in the year 2022, we break that whole thing down, we actually get 15 date numerology. And we know that these people were arrested in Houston, Texas, where Texas also equals 15 in reduction. Now, reduction is reducing the letters with double digits to single digits, right? So you get the 1 through 9, and it repeats 1 through 9, so on and so forth, until you get to the 26th letter, which is now 8 in this cipher. Now, it also happened, if we break it down, December, right, 15th, 2022, right? We break it down like that. We get 69 date numerology, that these people were arrested in Texas, when Texas also equals 69. So this was by the numbers, man. These people were arrested. It's something deeper that's going on to this situation. And we about to uncover that. Right? Now, even break it down in simplicity, right? Just the month and the day. Every way we go about it, right, is by the numbers. Because December 15th is on 27 date numerology, when more than a dozen members, a part of Sauce Walka's team, have been arrested on RICO charges, right? When RICO equals 27, ritual equals 27, and arrest equals 27 in the full reduction cipher, the purest cipher. Now, also with that, right? 14 members, and this is another headline. Another headline is always in the headline. You don't even have to go any deeper. All you have to do is just take the headlines. The code is in the headlines. 14 members of Houston rapper Sauce Walka's TSF. Now they abbreviated, right? The Sauce Factory, but in the headline they abbreviated. TSF arrested on RICO charges when TSF, RICO, ritual, and arrest. Once again, the same phrase. We taking the same words. RICO, ritual, arrest. And we just taking it in other ciphers. We taking the same words. Right? RICO, all we did was add TSF this time. And we get the number 45. Right? Nah, also, his next birthday, his upcoming birthday next year, is on the 197th day of his label mates. I ain't gonna say gang. I ain't gonna, you feel me? Because they already finna book these folks. I ain't gotta add nothing extra, right? The 197th day of his label mates arrest, right? Now 197 is the 45th prime number, right? 45, just like TSF equals 45, RICO 45, ritual and arrest equals 45. Come on. Now here is when it gets real good, right? Now 14 alleged members of Sauce Walka's The Sauce Factory arrested in Houston on drug firearm charges. Now the Sauce Factory equals 170. Now what's interesting about this is they get arrested on the 170th day of Sauce Walka's age. Also with sacrifice equals 170. This is Sauce Walka's sacrifice. It's not always in blood. It's not always in blood. Watch it. It's not going to be like YSL. YSL, all them folks getting out. Watch this one. The Sauce Factory, them folks getting locked up. Watch and see, right? Because we seen this with Master P. Now y'all remember, it's not always in blood, because if we remember back in 2002, his brother C Murder got locked up for life. And that had him for a little minute. It had him sitting good in the industry for a minute, because he ain't had to make another sacrifice until 20 years later, when his daughter passed away at the age of 29 on May 29th, when Master P equals 29 in full reduction. And now you see Romeo speaking out at the age of 33. Right? But see, that was his first sacrifice. His first sacrifice was his brother. That was the first one. So see, it ain't always in blood. So them folks finna sit down. Maybe not all of them, but they not gonna get them plea deals like YSL. Come on. Right? Also with sacrifice. This was his sacrifice. This comes, right? 6 months exactly. 6 months and 2 weeks before his upcoming birthday. Just like sacrifice, Houston, Texas, and the Sauce Factory. We get 62 in full reduction and the reverse full reduction cipher. This was his sacrifice. Right? Now we gonna hit on he's independent. Let's hit on those comments. Right? Because we see every project that he has came out with since the beginning has started off with the Sauce Factory. Right? After about maybe 2 years or 3 years, 2.5, something like that, something along them lines, he started getting with a group called Create Music Group. Right? So not only does he release it on the Sauce Factory now, but he also releases it with Create Music Group. Right? So let's dive in on Create Music Group. And let's dive in on the same symbolism that you're going to see with the major labels. Like I said, it's nothing but a middleman. If you independent, why do you need an independent label? What's the point of signing to an independent? You still signing papers. You still signing paperwork. If you independent, nigga, just do it on your own. How the hell you independent and you're signed to an independent label? That doesn't even make sense. What's the purpose of y'all? Why do I need y'all? Why do I need to sign papers with you people? It makes no sense. I'm an independent content creator. I don't have no fucking deal with nobody. It's just me. But come on, man. Right? Why are they doing the same? Black Youngster is also signed with Create Music Group. Now you see how it's just a middleman because they're doing the same thing. And we know Black Youngster is down with them folks. Sitting there throwing up the pyramid. But he signed with Create Music Group as well. Come on, man. That independent word, it's not even independent. When these folks say, yeah, I'm independent, man, that don't mean nothing, man. That don't mean nothing. That just means you not signed to a major label. You still could be serving Satan. Come on, man. Right? Now you scroll down the Create Music Group. You scroll down their page. Obviously, I got it set up like this for your visual purposes. But if you scroll down, you'll see a post with these niggas giving you the same one-eye symbolism. The eyeball and the whole eyeball in the down middle. Folio, the Folio on here. Everybody, come on, man. They giving you the same symbolism. And if you actually watch this video, this clip, this is just the thumbnail. They don't even show this in that whole little 30-second clip. But come on. So they did that on purpose. Let's talk about another independent record label. This somebody had brought this to my attention. Like I said, I'm not gonna say no names. They was in talks of signing with this label, right? They was like, Kinfolk, check this out. Let me know what you think. They didn't offer me a contract. It's called Sumerian Records. And Sumerian, remember when I break down the Gematria, right? That English Sumerian cipher, right? But Sumerian Records, right? They claim to be an independent record label. But I had watched the movie 2 days ago that y'all recommended me. It was called American Satan. And Sumerian Records actually produced this film. Now this is a very good movie, right? The American Satan shows you how this rock group, they started off broke. They wanted to get into the industry, so they made a human sacrifice. Drake Bell was in the movie. What's some names that y'all familiar with that was in the movie? This not no regular schmegular movie. Drake Bell was in this movie. They actually sacrificed Drake Bell's character. They put his ass. I ain't gonna say too much if y'all want to watch the movie. But it shows you everything with the industry. It's literally everything. They show you everything, right? But come on, right? And they doing the same thing. And this is actually the guy that stars in this movie. This is him right here. So he's actually a rock star in real life. He's not just playing a character. I was wondering, like, damn, he looked just like one of them motherfuckers. He played that motherfucking role so well. But yeah, he's actually a rock star in real life. And here they are, showing you the devil horns, Sumerian Records. They giving you the same symbolism. The Masonic checkerboard. So yeah, it ain't nothing but the middleman. You still going through the same plug. You going through the same plug to supply the same drugs. But come on, right? That's just to dispel the, oh, he's independent. That's just to shut that shit up, right? But let's get back to Sauce Walka, right? Now they say once again he was arrested on drug firearm charges. Now, if we take that whole thing, remember I said I was gonna separate it. Now I'm gonna bring it together. Now, drug firearm charges equals 181. Houston, Texas equals 181. As black person equals 181. As all black people were involved in this ritual, right? When we know 181 is the 42nd prime number, right? Just like the N word. Now we know that they put these people in these type of rituals as well. We know this for sure, right? Pay attention to that word black person. We know that for sure because the first quote unquote black president that they gave us also synchronized with this numerology, right? As Barack Hussein Obama II equals 181, black person equals 181, and black person also equals 44, as Barack Obama was the 44th president. So yeah, try and tell me that this stuff isn't by the numbers and it isn't mockery right in front of your face, right? So we know they utilize these numbers for mockery, right? Because 181 is the 42nd prime number. So, and they said this wasn't even Barack Obama's name. His real name is Barry Sorrento or something like that, right? They said the person that had his birth certificate died in a plane crash or something like that, right? Funny, right? But anyway, right? 181 being the 42nd prime number, right? When we know the N word equals 42. Now, what's interesting about this, and peep the one-eye symbolism that he's giving you in his Instagram picture, and you think that these folks is not with it. Come on, bro. Wake up. Now, Sauce Walka has the number 102 in his Instagram in his name, right? When, once again, the N word equals 102 in the English language in reverse, right? Also, the Sauce Factory. Remember, that's his label, right? 1020, right? Remember that Sumerian. There goes the Sumerian. There goes the Sumerian. They like Sumerian records. Sumerian records. They are going off of the same thing, right? But if we take the Sumerian cipher that the ancient Sumerians, right, believed in, right, the number 6 being the perfect number, right, it also syncs up with the N word, right, with 102, right? Drop the 0 at the end. Or just drop the zeros completely and you have the 1, the number 1, and the number 2, right? But what was interesting about that 102, I was trying to dive deep to try to figure out, okay, I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. Like, okay, does he have a reasonable explanation as to why all of a sudden he goes by this name 102? Right? So I came across a song called 102s. And in the song, might I add, he doesn't actually say 102s at all in the song. Listen to the song for yourself. But what's actually interesting is in Sauce Walka's verse, he ends every line with the word nigga. So I couldn't help but add 2 and 2 together. Because like I said, they don't say 102. None of these people in this song say 102 or explain 102 at all in the song. I'm trying to give him a benefit of the doubt. I'm like, okay, let me try to see if he got some type of explanation, or maybe he was on the 100, maybe he was 102 block, maybe that was his address when he was young. I was trying to find something to where I could be like, okay, let me give him a pass on that. But he didn't. I couldn't find nothing except for this song where he say nigga in every line. So it's like knowing what the N word equal, right? And knowing what his gang just got caught in this N word ritual, it's hard to perceive this as anything else when he goes by this name. Oh, and he also has a 102 chain. You know, this reminds me of them just telling you that Drake necklace with 42 engagement ring diamonds, right? When the N word equals 102 and 42, right? You know, Drake's not all the way Jewish. He's half Jewish. His dad's black. So he gonna get caught up in that nigger ritual as well. That just goes to show you, even though he's at the top of the game, he got to the top of the game. That's the half of him being at the top of the game. The other half, they still gonna mock the other half. But come on, right? Now, if we take his full Instagram name, Sauce Walka 102, right? It equals 28 in full reduction, the pure cipher. Now, the Sauce Factory gets arrested exactly 28 weeks before Sauce Walker's next upcoming birthday. So once again, it's all about the numbers, man. It's all about the numbers. It's all about the numbers, right? Drug firearm charges once again. We take those drug firearm charges that his label is caught up in. Sauce Walker 102, right? His Instagram handle also equals 100. And Thursday, the day that these people get arrested, also equals 100. Once again, this was a sacrifice for Sauce Walker. Every sacrifice is not blood, right? And these people, they not gonna tell. You know how they all the plea deals, they not gonna get no plea deals. They not getting no plea deals. Some of them might get out, but some of them folks, they gonna sit down for a minute. They gonna sit down. I guarantee it. Watch. I guarantee it. But that's all we got for this video, man. Appreciate y'all for the love. Appreciate y'all for the support. And I'm out.